Hi all, my name is Paige Klok, and this is my Teacher Passion Project on collecting and utilizing meaningful student data. As a reminder, I teach third grade in a public school and just a general education classroom in which my class sizes are usually between 28 and 32 students. I really wanted to research collecting student data because I felt like this was an area where I fell short in my teaching and in my working with other people like parents or other teachers when it comes to trying to help out a student that's either struggling or needs some more maybe acceleration in their learning. So a lot of these things that would come up would be like if conferences were around the corner or an IEP meeting was coming up, or a parent would send me an email asking questions about their child's progress. And while I could talk to those people, whether it was another teacher working with this student or the parent about how the child was doing, I didn't have a lot of data to back up my thoughts. Part of this is because I felt overwhelmed about how to organize and collect data for such a large group of students. And so in my research, one of the helpful tools that I found that I would like to utilize in the year coming up is student data binders. Now, you may or may not be familiar with these tools, and a student data binder is really what it sounds like. It is an organizational tool that you can use to collect data for either individual students, small groups, or an entire class. And the way that you use a student data binder is very unique to your classroom and your classroom's needs. So this can be set up any way you want it to. Most people choose to put in their student data binder some sort or multiple different charts and graphs. So you can see in this photo by Andrea Knight, she is showing some student data on naming letters and naming numbers. You might also put things like behavior reports, attendance reports, or IEP and accommodation reports, and student work samples, so you can have something to quickly show parents and other teachers when you are talking with them about a student. Now, the student data binders are a great tool, but we need to look at why it's so important to collect student data. And across various blogs that I read, I really kind of trimmed it down to three main reasons. One of the top reasons that it's important to collect data is because it helps inform and direct decisions for teachers when they are making groups, either for interventions or accelerations, helping prepare a kid for an assessment, or just working to maintain them at the grade level standards. Another reason it's important to collect student data is because it helps students become data literate and understand their own levels. This is a concept that was new to me in my research, but it's all about making children more understanding of their own levels so that there's a little bit more of a buy-in from their end. So when we are giving students the opportunities to chart their own data, to look at their scores, to see their growth and areas where they need to work, it helps them become more literate in reading and interpreting data and can help them buy into their own learning a little bit more. And then it also gives educators direction in their lesson planning and scope and sequence. So for example, if I give an exit ticket and collect the data on my lesson telling time to the hour, and I notice that most of my class is still not understanding this concept, I know that I cannot move on to the next lesson if most of my class isn't understanding this. Now, these are all reasons that I'm sure you have thought of before. We know that data is important, but again, I really wanted to focus on the how to collect it and how to use it. A caution that I'd like to point out that I found in a lot of my research is that when we are collecting data, we should make sure that we're collecting data that's both useful and meaningful as well as consistent. Teachers and students are way too busy throughout their day to be administering and grading tests or taking tests that are not going to have any sort of data that we can actually use. And obviously there are more ways to collect data than just tests. We can do exit slips, we can do observations, we can do smaller quizzes, lots of things that we can use, but we need to make sure that the methods we are using are being constantly reviewed so that we know that they can actually give us meaningful data that will be consistently given to show us trends over time. Otherwise, we're wasting both our time and the students' time. So back to the student data binders, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about this, really a great resource that I would encourage you to check out is this video on YouTube by Pocketful of Primary. She has a fantastic video all about how she uses and sets up a student data binder in her general education elementary classroom. And I would really encourage you to take a look at it if this is something you are interested in learning more about. On this slide, you'll see some pictures. These are tools that I either currently use for collecting data or that I'm looking to use a little bit more. Benchmark Advance and Math Expressions are the curriculums that my school uses already. And some tools that I want to dive a little bit deeper into. The FastBridge Learning is the test that we take 3 times a year in our school. And there's a lot of data information that test gives that I have not actually dived super deeply into. So I'd like to look a little bit more into that, as well as utilizing online resources like IXL and Extra Math. These blog posts that I used in research were very helpful for understanding the why behind collecting student data, and I will link these in the description in the video if you are interested in checking them out, as well as helpful resources for the student data binders portion. So these are blog posts, videos, or links to TPT stores where you can look at how to set up your own student data binders, as well as getting some editable data sheets. The last thing that I will go through just very quickly in this video are a few sheets that I set up myself that are really geared towards my classroom and how I see myself using a student data binder. If these sheets are something you are interested in using, please let me know. You can email me and I'd be happy to share them with you, and you can edit them how you would like. I hope this encourages you to continue reviewing your own methods for collecting student data, and maybe you learned something a little bit new or are inspired to try a new method in your classroom this year.